you have so much of an advantage where when you are building something for yourself. Like you don't realize that you are such an expert at understanding your own problems that it makes the building so easier. And that was my case. Like I was using Twitter every day to post to get inspiration, and I was finding some very little things that were just pissing me off. So I was just going back to the code, fixing stuff. That was a never-ending loop, but the product itself got super, super high quality thanks to that.
Welcome to the Superhuman AI podcast, where we talk about what's happening in AI and how you can use it. Today, I have Tibo with me, and I'm super excited to introduce Tibo because he's one of the first indie hackers who's had a major exit with an AI product. It's called Taplio. Tibo, do you mind if I call it indie hacking, or would you describe yourself as something else?
It's totally okay. And thank you for inviting me. I'm super happy to be here.
Yeah, man, same here. We're super excited to have you. Especially, it's always good to talk to builders as well, because it's one thing to say, hey, AI this, AI that, but it's quite different to talk to folks who've actually built something, shipped it, and even sold it. So with that, let's, get started the most obvious part. So, you sold Taplio for 7 figures, but more interestingly, and I remember there's a Twitter thread where you said you exited, and then you made some money at the exit, but then you made some money after the exit as well, right?
Yeah, the thing is, I think it might be one of the riskiest acquisition ever. When we got acquired, the company had 2 products, Tweethunter for Twitter and Taplio for LinkedIn. And the company overall was like a year old. Like the first product, Tweethunter, got out like less than a year before the acquisition.
Interesting.
At the same time, Elon Musk was taking over on Twitter, and we knew at the time that Taplio was not fully compliant with LinkedIn. So all that together, it was super risky as an acquisition. And that's also part of why we wanted to sell, because we didn't make that much of money at the time, and we wanted to de-risk ourselves. So we found this way of doing it where I think 80% of the acquisition amount was in what we call an earn-out, meaning only 20% was upfront, but 80% was based on some performance bonus based on the growth of the product.
That's super interesting, right? Because most people, they take most of the cash up front in an exit, but then, they give, the acquiring company gives you a little bit to stay on after and make sure that the transition is smooth. So I think it's, you're an interesting case study of someone who made more money after the acquisition. Ready to supercharge your startup? Join the Google for Startups Cloud program and get up to $350,000 in credits. You'll also get expert guidance and access to cutting-edge AI tools when you join. Don't miss this opportunity. Apply now at cloud.google.com/startup/apply. So tell me a little bit. So how, where does your journey start? Were you building things before Tweethunter, or was that the first one?
I created my first startup something like 10 years ago with my co-founder, Thomas, and we failed miserably. We failed in 2 years, which is worse than failing fast, because you need 2 years to realize that you are failing. And I did it again, I failed a second time, and again, I needed 2 years. And so when we got back together with Tom, we just said that if we need to fail or we need to succeed, it would need to happen very fast. And so we did this crazy thing where we started shipping a new product every week. And it was if it doesn't work, if it doesn't bring some revenue in just a few weeks, we would just go to the next product. And I think we shipped something like 10 products over 4 months. And every week, if the product from the week before wasn't getting any revenue, we just try to ship something else. And that way, we were slowly building a small audience week after week. We were slowly getting more knowledge about what people truly want. And we landed on Tweethunter as the 11th product. And from the very start, it took off. And so that's how we got into this product.
Interesting. So can you tell me a little bit about how Tweet Hunter happens? Because honestly speaking, I know about it. I was an early user. I have no idea how I found it. So I'm interested to learn how did this happen? Like how did you guys get traction? Was it Twitter threads? Was it influencers? Like what's the story there?
I don't know if you remember, but that was the GPT-3 time. Like GPT-3 got out like 6 months before,
Oh,
and
interesting.
it was this huge rush of people trying to build some cool stuff with GPT-3. And the obvious use case was generate tweets.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we tried that. It was one of the 10 fading products that we did before. But the issue is GPT-3 was not good enough to generate good contents. And so while everyone else was like trying to generate stuff with GPT-3, we use it in a very different way. Like we use it to analyze, cluster, and categorize viral tweets. And so by doing that, we were able to build this inspiration wall, and that was the core feature of Tweet Hunter. When you land on Tweet Hunter, you get an inspiration wall of tweets, like old viral tweets that look like something you could have written, but
Yeah.
since it's quite old, it's something that's evergreen that you could get inspiration from, do connection between contents, and come up with your new content, and it works. Like it's by doing that, I built this project for myself first. Like I was having a very hard time building an audience on Twitter, and with my own products, I was getting so many good tweet IDs. And so
Yeah.
I started sharing about it on Twitter. We did a few Reddit posts. And what was amazing at that time is when we stopped doing anything, like when we stopped talking about it, new subscribers were still coming. And that's when
Interesting.
we realized that we got a viral product.
And what made it viral? Was it just word of mouth, people saying that it's amazing, or did you guys do anything on your end to push it a little bit?
So we did a few things, but it just it was taking something that was actually by definition or by essence viral and organic, because the core target of Twitter is people who are on Twitter. And so this is amazing when you are targeting people active on social media, is that if they are successful with your product, that they just talk about it. So it creates a very nice incentive to work more on the product and a little bit less on the distribution, because if the product is very good, the distribution is coming in an easier way.
So you said that this was try number 11 for you. When you look back at that experience, would you say that you've developed a better sense of what works or doesn't work? Or do you feel like, no, you have to get a lot of shots on goal and just see what works?
Yeah, definitely. There are tons of ideas that they look good on the outside, but if you think a little bit more about it, just let me give you an example. There was this idea which is like a search engine for communities, which the idea was that you are working on your product, and when your product is ready, you want to talk about it. And so we built a search engine for communities for you to know where you can talk about your products, where to push your products. So it was gathering subreddits, Twitter accounts, Slack channels, Discord servers, and many things.
Yeah.
And I think it's a shitty idea because it just doesn't work like that. Like it doesn't. You cannot. First of all, you're probably going to launch once, so you will use my product only once, and that's it. And it's really not enough to build a sustainable business. And secondly, you will not be successful using it, and that's very important. You cannot just land on a community, talk about your product, and just leave to the next community. That's not how it works. People will ban you. Or like the best that can happen is just having no results. But I needed to build this product to truly understand that. Like you need to go through this phase to actually learn about why it's not going to work.
That's fair. That's fair. Are there any lessons from that phase? I mean, 11 products is a lot of products. Like when you look back at that, what are like the big, one, two, three things where you're like, those are some hard earned lessons for me?
I think one of the best lessons is you have so much of an advantage where when you are building something for yourself. Like if you're working on your own issues, like own problems, you don't realize that when you are building it, but you are such an expert. You are such an expert at understanding your own problems that it makes the building so easier. And when you are actually using it every day, and that was my case, like I was using Twitter every day to post to get inspiration, and every day I was finding some very little things that were just pissing me off, and I was end up not tweeting because as soon as I wanted to tweet, I was finding this little thing, and so I was just going back to the code, fixing stuff, and just going back to tweeting, and then I was seeing another stuff that was pissing me off. So that was a never-ending loop of fixing stuff. But the product itself got super super high quality thanks to that.
I think that's totally fair, right? Like when I look at myself, I launched a bunch of different things before I launched the newsletter and the media company. And none of them worked because none of them were for me, to be honest, right? And some people can go talk to users and do that. But in my case, it's like after like, I don't know, I didn't count my attempts, but, this was probably attempt number 10 or something for the newsletter. But, it was the first idea that I built for myself. And it was like an instant hit right out of the gate.
So the newsletter is something that you would have loved as a reader?
Exactly.
Nice.
Exactly. I mean, my problem there was, essentially like every single AI newsletter at that point was basically for technical people, right? It had a lot of technical terminology. Like I'd read an AI newsletter and then I would have to go Google a bunch of things, right? To understand what they're even saying. And I was just like, this feels too hard. So since I'm doing this work of simplifying this knowledge for myself, what if I just turn it into a newsletter, right? And that's basically what I did. And the very crazy thing about that is I had a full-time job at the time and it grew so fast. Like I kid you not, I had a full-time job and this thing was making like $100,000 a month, right? And at some point I was just like, it happened really fast. It happened in like 3 months, right? So it's like, 1 month you're making 10,000 and in 3 months you're making like 100,000 or something. And at some point I was like, maybe I should quit my job. Like, this is getting really big now. Because a part of me was, again, first time hitting product market fit, didn't know what it looked like. And even when I hit it, part of me was like, damn, like, what if AI is like a 6-month thing and this thing just goes back to zero and I lose my job and I don't have anything in the end. But no, I think when you build something for yourself and you love it, it's a pretty good indicator that at least a few other people are gonna love that thing as well.
I totally see what you mean. Like, and it's crazy when your life changes like that fast. Like when you see the products taking off like that, and like just following a trend, and the trend being way bigger than what you thought.
So let's get back to our story, right? So Tweet Hunter is doing reasonably well at this point, not as obviously well as Taplio would go on to do. So at this point, what are you guys thinking? How does, is it a straight line into Taplio, or are there other sort of like, turns in between?
Well, we did something that was a bit crazy and we never thought we would do that. But like I was just like randomly reaching out to big accounts on Twitter, and one of the guy just like reacted in an awesome way. Like he said, this is amazing. I want to be in. And that was super surprising. Like we didn't really know how to react, but we just went a bit further and we understood that this guy wanted to be like an equity partner. Like he wanted to be a shareholder. And so we took the bet. Like this guy was quite medium guy, like on Twitter, 40K followers, but growing fast, but talking about the exact same thing as we were promoting on Tweet Hunter. And so we basically gave this guy 25% of Tweet Hunter. And it worked so well. It worked so well.
Who was this guy, by the way? Do you want to say or not?
Like GK Molina on Twitter.
Oh, I've seen him. I haven't seen him in a while, but I do know who you're talking about.
No, I think he's just more quiet right now, like after the acquisition. But it worked very well. Like it worked so well that when we started Taplio, we were like we looked to replicate this exact strategy. So like during 6 months, we were looking for the right LinkedIn influencer. And that's actually what took the longest. Like building the product itself was not that long. Like the product was ready almost before finding the influencer, but like finding the guy, because we understood the power of LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn people have more money, are more willing to buy. You have all the sales people who
100%.
like instantly buy.
Yeah.
So we wanted to like read the perfect people, and we were pretty much no one on LinkedIn. So it was very hard to show and to get some trust on LinkedIn and Taplio.
On LinkedIn, was it JK again, or did you guys partner with someone else
No,
on LinkedIn?
it was Alex Berman.
Interesting. I haven't seen that profile yet.
Yeah, that's because I think we released Taplio officially, and the acquisition happened like maybe 4 months after the official release of Taplio, and so
Yeah.
the partnership just got terminated very fast because of
I
the
see.
acquisition.
I think you're right. I think LinkedIn is an extremely valuable audience. I think Twitter is maybe the worst creator audience to build for. If someone wants to build for creators, I personally think that's the worst, right? It's like, LinkedIn, I think, there's professionals. So, they can justify it, right? I'm doing this for my career. I'm doing this for my profession. So, you can justify spending $20 a month on something. On Instagram, it's like if I spend $20, I get followers, I might get some girls in my DMs. So, there's like that other motivation. On Twitter, like, what are you gonna get? Like, absolutely nothing, right? It's like you're just gonna get a bunch of people harassing you in DMs, right? It's that meme on LinkedIn. It's like it's like expectation versus reality. Like expectation is you work out and you think a bunch of girls are gonna come, but it's all just a bunch of dudes who are complimenting you and how good you look. Building an audience on Twitter is the same, right? Like you think hey you're gonna make money or it's gonna be very good for you socially. Absolutely not. Like nobody cares if you have an audience on Twitter, but on LinkedIn or Instagram, I think there definitely is a lot of benefit to building something.
Yeah. I hate that you say that because I think you're right, but I'm building again for Twitter and not for LinkedIn. Probably because I got my LinkedIn account suspended, but
Yeah.
still I'm in again on Twitter.
Yeah. I want to actually like get to the banning thing, right? It's like you were so successful that you've got banned, right? Like there's a lot of other folks who are building products, but they're not getting banned. So I think that's an interesting angle to explore. So you say, you partnered with a creator on Twitter. That worked really well for Tweet Hunter, which was the first product or first successful product. Then you guys are building Taplio, which is, helping creators create content on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I just want to insist on like I really feel like people and like builders, makers do not partner enough with influencers and creators. And it's
Yeah.
crazy the very high number of social media creators who are like they're quite big, like they have huge reach, but they're
Yeah.
not making that much money. And so they would be
Yeah.
very, very happy to partner with very talented builders and like actually create products. I
Yeah.
really feel people should do that more.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think, it's quite rare I've seen for a solo entrepreneur to be really good at this. Like for you to be a talented coder and a talented creator of content is quite rare. You might be that person. If you are that person, amazing. But it's quite rare. I've seen just because the part of brains that both things use are quite different. So I think, if you're someone who wants to build, I think that's the fear every engineer or developer has is like, if I build this thing, like, how do I even sell this thing? Right. But then the fear that the creator or founder has is like, I don't know how to build anything. Right. Like, sure, I'm
Yeah,
creating
exactly.
content and blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to sell courses. Courses aren't really selling. I want to create a product, but I don't know how to create a product. And, I think you don't have to do it alone. Like, if you're a creator, go find a developer who wants to work with you. And if you're a developer and you want to sell your product, go find a creator that wants to work for you. Right. Both of you combined together can probably, generally speaking, I think over a long enough time period, I just find it really hard to believe that a decent creator and a decent coder can't build like a 20, 30K MRR product. I just find it really hard to believe. That's, I think if you ship like 10 products, I think you can probably get there.
Yeah,
I don't know how
and
you feel
like
about
we are
that.
living in a time like where it has never been that easy to build. So like one person alone can be the designer, the developer, the server guy. Like he can do everything. And if you have just like one distribution guy and one building guy, that's way enough to build a business.
Fuel your startup's growth with Google Cloud. Get up to $350,000 in free credits, expert guidance, and cutting-edge AI tools when you join. So join the 90% of GenAI unicorns that are using Google Cloud. But why choose Google Cloud? Because they offer personalized support, technical training, and a vibrant startup community. Ready to take your startup to the next level? Visit cloud.google.com/startup/apply to learn more and apply today.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Cool. So, getting back to the story, you partner with the creator on Twitter, does really well. Then you partner with some guy on LinkedIn, but then the acquisition happens. What's going on at this point? What are the sequence of events?
Yeah, so we are in 2022. Things are going quite well, and the plan has always been to get acquired. Like the plan was to build something, grow to 10K in monthly revenue, sell for 1 million, and instantly start over. And it didn't really go like that. Like we first of all, like we struggled finding a buyer. We found some in India and in the US, but like the alignment was not super healthy. Like and all of them were asking us to stay 2 years in business. And it was it seems normal if you know a little bit about acquisition, but for us, it was like a super surprising thing. And we were super afraid of being like locked down in a cave for people that we don't enjoy company. And so I reached out to my former classmate from middle school. He had created this awesome company like Lemlist and Lempire, and it was a match. Like he became first of all like a client of Taplio. He was the first client to actually take 17 licenses of Taplio to use with his entire team. And so because he was seeing the value of Taplio, he was very interested in when we talked about an acquisition. So it happened in summer 2022, where I think the annual revenue was like a little bit less than 1.5 million. And fast forward to April 2024, so a little bit less than 2 years after, we grew from 1.5 million to 8 million in annual revenue. So we achieved 5 out of the 6 milestones that we had in the acquisition contract to get the full amount. So the full amount was like 10 million. We didn't get that. We got like 8 million out of the 10.
Yeah, that's crazy. So when you guys got acquired, you said you were at 1.5. Is all that 1.5 coming from Taplio, or is it just a mix of things?
No, it was like 75% from Tweet Hunter. And Taplio was
crazy.
only 25%. But then, like 2 years later, it just reversed. Like Taplio grew way more, and it ended up being like Taplio 2/3 of the revenue and Tweet Hunter 1/3.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's like sort of like like this sliding doors moment, like something could have happened. So I at the time, by the way, I was looking at you guys. I saw what Taplio was doing. And then my sort of, thing was, hey, what if I took Taplio and really segmented it for like a B2B audience? So my obvious thing, my obvious thought at that point was, I thought the most obvious target was salespeople, right? It was an idea I was exploring. I never actually built it or never had a serious, started off or anything. But my thing was salespeople, right? Because if you look at salespeople, they can justify spending $100 a month on this. right? Like they can go to, their VP of sales or something and say, hey, I'm going to build this content, and then I get to see who's liked this, and then I get to, automate like DMs to them, or maybe send them an email or something. Seems like Taplio eventually built out a lot of that functionality. But I always sometimes I wonder I'm sure you have no regrets, but sometimes I look at it and I'm just like, what if it was like a sales first tool, and it was just like, like $100, $200, and then every enterprises that are buying like tens, hundreds, maybe in some cases like thousands of licenses, so that their sales team is going out and putting out content there.
You're so right. Like we just scratched the surface of like more serious B2B sale in multiple way, and that's really because of how we work with Thomas. The truth is we do not know how to sell to big companies. Like we hate
That's a big problem, yeah.
getting into a call. We hate like talking to the user face to face. We do not have an onboarding process for clients. We don't do special price. We try to like extremely limit the support that we were offering. So it was not the way we were wired, but definitely like there's so many things to build, like the way because growing on LinkedIn is interesting, but like what people want is take the followers and convert them into clients. And
Exactly.
This part, like going from LinkedIn to outreach and going from LinkedIn to like clients, is a super interesting part. Like extracting the data from LinkedIn, using LinkedIn data as intents for like purchase decision. It's super interesting, and we could have gone way further.
Yeah, so, maybe giving away a few of my secrets here, but we actually did manage to crack the enterprise sales thing, because turns out, because initially when we were doing the newsletter, I would get all of my inbound on Twitter. Like there'd be, founders like yourself who'd come in and be like, hey, we'd like to buy an ad for like $2,000 or $4,000, and we're just going to buy one ad and so on. But, eventually a lot of like the really solid inbound ended up coming from LinkedIn. Right. And then I was like, okay, cool. I'm creating this content on both platforms, on Twitter and LinkedIn. But the folks who are spending real money, at least through inbound, they're all coming through like LinkedIn. Like that was like, the very interesting part. And not even necessarily through LinkedIn directly. It's like, a lot of the folks who, at the bottom of my newsletter, we have like this thing, which is basically, hey, if you'd like to sponsor the newsletter, reach out to this email. And when I look back at a lot of the emails that I reached out, those were people that had come in from LinkedIn. So like the quality of like purchasing intent on LinkedIn is so much higher than the quality of purchasing intent there. And then over time, learn how to do outbound. My co-founder is like insane. He'd never done like, inbound or outbound, but he's really good. And sort of, he managed to crack it, and he's leading the team on that side. Question about, about Taplio. So, you guys obviously, how did you guys like kind of, train your model, right? Were you guys manually taking tweets and using that to kind of train or fine tune your model? Or was it a case of, were you guys just pulling from the LinkedIn API to see what's viral and using that data? Or was there just no data used to fine tune?
Well, you cannot do that. Like you cannot pull LinkedIn posts from the LinkedIn API. And that's why got me suspended, is that to build the analytics system, like the LinkedIn post analytics on Taplio, and to build the huge database of LinkedIn posts that we needed to like build the inspiration feature, we had to create this Chrome extension, which like use the internal API of LinkedIn, like this API that is not accessible for developers, but that you can just exploit by having this Chrome extension. And so by doing that, we did something that is against the LinkedIn rules, which is safe for Taplio users, but not as the Taplio founder. And that's why they were very late at doing that. But like 2 years after I created the Taplio, and like 6 months after I totally stopped working on that because I was just out of the business, they suspended my accounts.
That's savage, man. So is that the reason they gave you is the sort of like Chrome extension exploit, or was it more around like API usage, or were they just not, or are they just not allowing any AI content creation tools on the platform now? Because I do see
No,
other
that
AI
was
content creation platforms. I don't see them getting banned.
that was really about the extension. Like the Chrome extension was doing things that is not permitted by LinkedIn.
Okay, but otherwise, everything else in terms of content creation and everything, that's like completely overboard. Like they're fine with
Yeah.
AI content creation.
Yeah.
Interesting. So let's go back to the acquisition, right? So like the acquisition happens. Obviously, Taplio becomes like this huge success over time. What's going on there, right? Like, what is the main like acquisition? Are is it influencers on the platform? Is it, or is it paid marketing on the platform? Is it newsletters? So for example, full disclosure to anyone listening, Taplio does sponsor our newsletter, but this podcast has nothing to do with it. So I would love to sort of, hear about what's going on there.
So what happens is I think we like our DNA with Tom is about building stuff, and so we quickly realized that one thing is working very, very well, which is building free tools that are very highly to rank on Google.
Nice.
And which are very close to what Taplio is doing. And so we start like building this system. It was way less organized than what I'm going to say, but in the end, it was pretty much that. We're basically building one new mini tool every month or so, maybe every 2 weeks. And a mini tool is basically just a simple landing page with one very specific goal, something like download a video from a LinkedIn post.
I see.
It's something that you might search on Google because you quickly want a tool that does that. Like you want to download the video from a LinkedIn post. And so you will search for that. You will find the Taplio video downloader. You will just paste your LinkedIn link. It will give you the video and it will suggest you to use Taplio to schedule this video. The crazy thing is this tool has been built as a test given to a developer to assess if he's good or not. And it was pretty good. So we eventually hired the developer and published the tool. But this kind of mini tool, today you can build them in just a day or two, and you can just ship them. Like you can ship a ton of them.
I see.
And over time, at the very beginning, social media was like the first acquisition channel by far. But like as we built these mini tools and as they like started to rank on Google, it quickly became the first acquisition channel, because like the traffic that you get from them like just compounds. Like just you add a new one, it doesn't affect the other one. Whereas if you partner a social media creator or like you go viral on LinkedIn,
it's like
it's a spike, and then it goes to zero, and you have to start over.
100%. No, that's super fascinating.
The combination of the two worked very well for us. Like we were being big on social, and it means being active ourselves, but also like sponsoring a lot of creators, and at the same time building value and getting searchable with mini tools. So the two combined work very well.
That's interesting. I would have not guessed that, because I know you guys are pretty active with creators and on newsletters. So part of me just assumed, you guys succeeded with that on Twitter. So maybe that was like the playbook for LinkedIn. It's fascinating. Like I sometimes feel like SEO is like this dinosaur channel, and I don't pay attention to it, but I always hear these stories of people doing like massive things with SEO. But I think that's maybe because SEO is a little bit technical and has gotten even more technical over time. So people maybe don't. Yeah.
It's harder, and like I think people are moving away from SEO way too soon compared to what it's bringing. Maybe SEO is gonna die one day because of AI, but right now it's still what's fueling like most of my project, and that's why I'm investing in SEO tools like as a maker. I'm building some, and I hope that it's bringing some value.
That's pretty interesting. Okay, cool. Awesome. I feel like we've explored this pretty in depth. I think anyone who's listening to this maybe wants to build a creator tool or is looking for distribution strategies. Hopefully they're getting a lot of value out of this conversation. So let's talk about the next chapter. At what point do you decide that you want to leave Taplio?
So we had a 2 years contract. Basically, we needed to stay in business 2 years. We managed to leave a little bit earlier because we had some conflicting opinions with the team behind Empire. Nothing huge, but we just wanted to shift. And it happened in last April. And quickly after that, I got back into builder mode, founder mode,
Yeah.
Building new stuff. I have this crazy challenge right now where I'm trying to build 5 products to 100K monthly revenue.
Do you want to tell me about them, or do you want to tell the audience about it? What are the products you're working on right now?
The most successful one is a product dedicated to video making and video editing. It's called Revit AI. The nice thing about it is that you can just give it text and it will create video from text. I did this crazy thing with my daughter where she was asking how a camera is working, and the tool just created an explainer video in 5 minutes, which shows the details of how a camera is working and with very nice words for a 5-year-old. I love where this is going, and the primary target is TikTokers and YouTubers.
I see.
But yeah, it's growing very fast, and I hope that it's my next hit.
Awesome, man. This has been a great conversation. I know we're sort of coming towards the end of our hour. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, I'm writing about my own journey every week. And people can find out about that on tmaker.io. I'm just sharing the wins, the fails, and everything that I learned along the way. So if your readers want to jump in, that would be a pleasure.
Okay, awesome. That's tmaker.io. If you're listening to this, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and sign up to it as well as we wrap up this call. So yeah.
Nice.
Tibo, this was really good. I mean, I know we've briefly talked before, but this was honestly an amazing conversation and one of the best episodes we've done.
Amazing. Thank you very much for saying.
All right, folks, that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode and you want us to do more episodes like this, just shoot me an email at zain@superhuman.ai. That's ZAIN@superhuman.ai. And we'll definitely do more episodes like this. So thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you soon.